Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
All right. Thursday night, Gridiron Grinder time. I'm Ryan. With me, as always, is my buddy James. We're just a couple dudes hanging out, sipping on some tea tonight, and talking about what's going on in the NFL. So, this is episode 216. We're going to kick things off with Name That Stadium like we always do. Then we're going to cover the news from this past week. After that, we are going to give you guys our final power rankings and game picks for the regular season. And then last but not least, we'll close it off with our question of the week. And so, with all that being said, how's it going tonight, James?
It's going good. How's it going with you?
It's going all right, man. As I was telling you pre-show, I'm still trying to kick whatever this crap is that got into my lungs last week, and so I'm steeping some tea here to sip on during the show instead of my normal whiskey. So, yeah. But such is life. Such is life.
Yeah, I hear you. As you can tell, as I tell you, fucking, or for some reason, I woke up horses all get out and can't kick it today. So we'll
Yeah,
get through, though. We'll get
yeah.
through.
We just gotta man up and power through, right? So, I guess with that being the case, whenever you're ready, my man, do some name that stadium for us.
All right, nobody plays, but we're still going to do it. No guesses last week. I was at San Francisco, but as you can see, travel around different stadiums, host NFL games, try to tie it into something that happens that week, or happening that week, or just wherever I feel like going. First person guesses right, gets the extra special shout out. Bookmark it, play it back to all your friends. Fuck, somebody that guesses will give you a shout out. So
Yes.
play. I regularly go here, so y'all should know where it is. It probably is similar to Ryan's shirt, but
Oh, I love it when you drop the hints.
yeah, nobody picks up on it.
Yeah. Well, oh, gotta put a bit of honey in my tea. Yeah, I mean, hey, it'd be nice if someone played. If not, that's okay. I think our six viewers are on the shy side, as we've come to find out.
Yeah. So
All right, well, hey, that's name that stadium, and we'll just kind of move on with life here. So, James, recap of the past week, my man. What's sticking out for you that you've seen? Anything?
like just really like a lot of meaningless games this weekend. Like everybody and their mother, like probably like three teams, I think it is, or four teams have chances to clinch the playoffs or clinch something this week. Everybody else is fucking out. So maybe some seeding, like here it is. So like basically
Yeah, the
whoever wins
Lions
this,
game is like the big one, right?
the Lions game's a big one. First matchup of the
14 win
14
teams.
win teams, highest win total of any team to meet, ties. I guess this happened five times in the playoffs where 14 win teams met.
I think it was
But
five times in the Super Bowl.
was it five times in the Super Bowl? I just saw playoffs.
Okay,
So
maybe I got it wrong. For some reason, I thought it was five times in the. Well, no, or I think you're right. Five times in the playoffs is probably what it was. Yeah.
yeah, it was five times in the playoffs. The most recent was the Chiefs Eagles Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking the Super Bowl because it pointed out that one. But yeah, no, the rest were in the playoffs, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't have the list, but I probably can find it. Outside that, you have people sitting. Nothing really too much going on.
Yeah, I'm sure Denver's you know, a little bit excited that the Chiefs are sitting some guys because they're one of the teams that's still fighting for the playoffs, right?
No, I'm not that surprised that Denver's sitting some people. Like,
No,
I
no, no,
mean,
Kansas City, right?
sorry,
So
Kansas City. Yeah,
Denver's
Kansas
playing Kansas
City's.
City, and Kansas
Yeah, yeah,
City's
yeah.
sitting some starters, which, hypothetically helps Denver with their chances of getting in.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit last week. but it's not that much of a surprise. Like Kansas City has nothing to play for. Okay, so here's the list:
Sure.
Kansas City and the Eagles in Super Bowl 57, New England and Pittsburgh in the 2004 AFC title game, Denver, Atlanta in Super Bowl 33, and Atlanta and Minnesota in the 1998 NFC title game, and
Okay.
San Francisco, Miami in Super Bowl 19. So three
Gotcha.
times in the Super Bowl, twice in a championship, the conference championship. But outside that, like I mean, shit, it's ridiculous that both both them are 14 win teams. And like I told you last week, I'm not surprised they put that on Sunday night. And I also told, or, no, I told you over the weekend after the Sunday games that
Yeah.
Detroit and Minnesota was going to be Sunday night. And I also told you that Saturday night was going to be Pittsburgh and Cincinnati.
So, I mean, I did see that the Pro Bowl rosters have been announced. I didn't go through it because I just kind of, I don't know, the Pro Bowl has like changed so much over the years that I'm not like super thrilled about it anymore. But I guess I should probably take a look at some point here.
Yeah, the Pro Bowl roster kind of bugs the fuck out of me. Like, how is Kirby Joseph not on the
Oh,
roster?
with 9 picks, yeah, I did see that a lot of people were, bitter that he missed it, but Brian Branch got in. And, I think Brian Branch is a great player, and I don't want to take anything away from him, right? But, Kirby Joseph, it reminded me of like what was it, Trayvon Diggs with like the 10 picks or whatever a couple years ago. It's like, you know, when you get nine, 10, whatever, it's you gotta be a Pro Bowler. I mean, that's just a crazy number to get. And so many of them were like game altering turnovers.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I didn't understand it. It looks just glancing at it of how many players are there like 17 from the NFC North. The Lions led the NFC with 7, and Baltimore led all teams with 9.
Shit, that's a lot, man.
I was just kind of surprised with Baltimore because, like, some of them on defense are like their defense kind of shit this year, and they have. Let me see. Let me do a quick count. Of those 9, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of them are defense.
Okay.
So I don't know. I I'm just glad. One thing that makes me happy about it is Patrick Mahomes isn't on the roster.
uh,
Like, and it makes me
makes
happy
you happy.
because, yeah, the reason it makes me happy is because he's had kind of a shit year this year, and he didn't deserve to be a Pro Bowler. So
Yeah,
I'm
it's
glad
just
that,
popularity contest aspect, which usually guys like that get in regardless, right?
yeah, exactly. I did see of that Gibbs was on it. I thought I saw Montgomery on the list, but I guess not.
No, maybe he'll be an alternate or something.
Why did I think? I know Mahomes. I swear. I swear I saw Montgomery on it. Like,
Jerry Judy made it on the AFC. Shit, man, did he really have that good of a year?
I don't think so.
Man, that just that one stands out to me.
But I
Let's
just
see.
kind of judge him by his Madden rating. So that's
Yeah, like 1,100 yards and 4 touchdowns. I don't. I gotta believe there was someone crushing that in the freaking AFC, man.
you would think. Let me take a look at wide receivers.
Yeah. Look at the receiving leaders.
Well, I was just looking at the wide receiving list and wide receivers and there's got to be. It seems weird.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jamar Chase, Nico Collins, I understand that. Zay Flowers had a pretty good year, but I don't think.
Yeah, what about the dude from Jacksonville, the rookie, man? Didn't he have a sweet fucking year and he didn't make it?
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking about.
Uh, Brian Thomas Jr.,
Yeah, thank you.
1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns. So, I mean, dude, he had 6 more touchdowns than Judy, dude.
Yeah, and Brian, he had more yards than Judy.
Yeah.
The if you look at the AFC receiving leaders, it's Chase, Brian Thomas Jr., Jerry Judy. Ladd McConkey's not on there. Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, where
And
did
Zay
Ladd
Flowers a
McConkey
thousand.
finish compared to Judy? I want to know that one.
So he was like
Just
100
under
yards behind
1,100
him
and 7. Okay.
and 7. Brian Thomas with 10. Like, how the fuck is he not a Pro Bowler?
Yeah, and I guess he's on the NFC side, right? Oh, I mean, I'm sorry. I'm now looking at the other rookie, the fucking Malik Neighbors from the Jets. He had
Yeah,
1,106.
I have a yeah 1106. Like Jefferson, like it just
Yeah, Jefferson, I get it. Almost 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns. You know, you got to be in the Pro Bowl.
yeah, but like I don't understand. Like, why? How the fuck
Yeah.
is Judy and Zay Flowers in over McConkey and Thomas? Like, okay,
Yeah.
maybe McConkey, but I mean McConkey had 7 more touchdowns, relatively the same number of yards, one less game.
I mean, Zay Flowers isn't even on the first page of receiving leaders.
Yeah,
Oh,
Zay Flowers has 1,047 yards and 4 touchdowns,
okay.
behind Ladd McConkey,
Oh, this is sorted by
Garrett Wilson,
receptions. That's why.
Garrett Wilson, and well, Zay Flowers had 73. McConkey had 14 more yards and 3 more touchdowns with 4 more receptions, one less game. Like, it just I don't get
Hmm.
how McConkey's not in there.
Yeah, I hear
And
you,
then
man.
Nico Collins only played in 11 games this year, didn't even have 1,000 yards, but had 6 touchdowns, and he's
Yeah, I mean that's a tough one, right? Because I think he's a game changer, but he did miss time, and so that's one where it's tough to like normally I would say yeah he should be like in it every year now, but because he did miss those games, it seems like you'd be looking at some of these other options.
yeah. So I don't get it.
That's all right.
I'm sure we can pick apart but I do swear I had read that both Montgomery and Gibbs. I don't know what the fuck I was reading then. Because there's an article I was reading that was talking about Montgomery Gibbs, and it was talking about um,
Yeah,
Jameson and Amon Ra. And I thought it was the Pro Bowl, but I guess not.
that's all right. All good in the hood. Yeah, so I guess other than other than that, I did see Packers cornerback Jair Alexander had his knee scoped, so now he's going to be out for the season. bummer for them. He's one of their better guys in the secondary.
Yeah, I saw that. I wasn't surprised that he was going to be out for the season. Like, I mean, they kept. It's kind of like, oh, is he going to play? I never felt like he was ever going to really play. And like with that, like the thing that frustrates me is like, and I'm not a huge Saquon Barkley fan, but I wish the Eagles weren't sitting him against the Giants to give him a chance to break the record. Like, I mean, he's what 100 yards shy. Like, let the motherfucker play. Like,
Yeah,
he
and
can get against the
do want
Giants.
to
He can
talk
get
to you
100
about
yards
that.
in the first half.
So some of that we're going to put a pin in because I want to talk about that in question of the week.
Okay,
But yeah, I'm with you. That's an interesting thing because he was definitely on pace to break that record.
definitely on pace. Shit, he needed 101 yards. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so. Also, how much are we gonna? We'll put a pin in that.
All right.
If we don't touch on it, I'll go to it because there's some other things I want to talk about with the sitting of players bullshit.
Sure. Yeah, and that's kind of tied into the question. So, there's some other teams involved, which we'll, I guess, talk about and see how it transpires. All right. I don't really have anything else here on the news, but if you saw something you want to hit on, now's the time, my man.
Yes, there is. Fucking NFL coaches need to go to a class about clock management.
All right. All right.
Okay. First, let's talk about Sean Payton. And we both love Sean Payton.
Mm-hmm.
So, in that game on, what was it, Saturday? Was that the Broncos game? Broncos and Bengals
And
that went into
Bengals.
overtime? Yes, it was. It was whenever it was. Saturday, Sunday,
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck when it was. It's the whole point is, and I want to verify the stat. So he saved 80 seconds of clock time by using timeouts in overtime, when a fucking tie would have put the Broncos in the playoffs.
Oh shit. All right. Uh, yeah, I didn't hear about that part of it, that angle on it.
So he saved 80 seconds of clock time trying to go for the win. With 67 seconds left on the clock, Cincinnati kicked the game-winning field goal. So those timeouts fucking bite him in the ass. And like, also, why are you passing the ball? A tie gets you in the playoffs. You don't have your only hope is for the 7 seed.
Yeah.
A tie gets you in the playoffs. Why are you
That
not
seems
running
like
the ball,
a big
forcing
miss for such a veteran head coach, man.
force Cincinnati to use all their timeouts, all their overtime timeouts, and get them to where they fucking are behind the 8 ball with a minute and a half left in the game. They got the ball back with 2 minutes and 20 seconds left in the game. So with those 80 seconds that were, quote, saved, let's see, 2 minutes, 80 seconds, they would have gotten the ball back with a minute left in the game. Could they have still scored the game-winning field goal? Yes.
Yeah, woulda, coulda, shoulda. We don't know.
But you don't need to save the time. A tie gets you in the playoffs. You don't. Yes, you play to win the game, but you play to get in the playoffs. Understand what the fuck's going on. That was the first one, and then I completely forget about the second one. But there was another atrocious
Oh
Atrocious
yeah, who
one.
was the other one? You were sending me a message about it.
Yeah, I got to go back to the message I sent because
Yeah.
oh it was the Washington Falcons game. Okay, fucking phenomenal game. At the end of the first half and at the end of the game, the Falcons had the ball and they wasted. I want to get the stats. Like I don't have the stats in front of me. They wasted. Let me see. End of the first half, they got the ball and they snapped it. It was like 20 seconds that they. Here it is. So they snapped that second and goal from the Washington from second and goal at the Washington 26. They snapped it with 2 minutes left on the clock. The next snap for third down happened with 127 left on the clock. It was the end of the first half. Then, wait, no, that's not. I apologize. I, it was
You better
the
apologize. Just kidding.
yeah that was it towards the end. That was the end of the second towards the end of the second half, which you should kick the field goal there anyways, which you're fucking well, you're second and 26 at the Washington 26 or second and goal at the Washington 26. You're not going to get a fucking first down. You're not going to get a touchdown. Then then and the end of the first half, it was another similar incident. They actually got the touchdown on that one because there was a pass interference. So, and then they missed the field goal because let's not go for two. Let's not go for two and win the
Yeah.
game and control our destiny. At the end of the first half, they snapped the ball. First down and 10 at the Washington's or at third down 28. They snapped the ball that play started at 1:53 on the clock. The next play happened at 1:18, and then the next play happened with 53 seconds. Like, seriously, like, call the timeout. Give your team a chance.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this been going on. The Lions Bears game. Obviously, we talked about that a little while back,
And
and
then didn't it happen to the Bears again? Like, yeah, it happened to
with
the
their
Bears on
interim coach. You're
Thursday.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
On Thursday, like the same fucking shit happened. Like it's like the clock management. Like Eberflus wasn't the only one that didn't understand clock management.
Yeah. And I mean, an interim coach is going to be expected to mess that up every now and then. But yeah, Eberflus, it was a bigger issue. Um, Man, I'm trying to think of. I know there's more than that. None of them are popping off the top of my head. For some reason, I want to say, and it might not have been this past week, but I want to say it happened with Gerard Mayo and the Patriots, and then I want to say
Uh-huh.
there was another one with the Jets interim guy did something similar with bad clock management, but and I don't think those were this week necessarily, just like recent things that happened that you heard about.
Hmm. I think though the Sunday night crew um, on for the Falcons Commanders game did a fucking phenomenal job pointing out a tie gets Washington in the playoffs. During the Broncos game, nobody fucking talked about it. Like they didn't
Yeah, no,
really.
that's good to point out, man. Is Yeah, when they're on top of it for the commentary, it helps when you're watching to understand the context a lot better.
Yeah. So, but like either one, a Broncos tie or a Washington tie would have made them. Washington ended up winning the game. Broncos ended up losing. And Broncos that game they kind of got lucky though, because if what's his name Chase Brown doesn't get hurt, which gave them an extra timeout back, which stopped the clock, and the stoppage of the clock kind of allowed them made the Bengals score because they couldn't take it down as scored the touchdown as opposed to the field goal because they couldn't take it down all the way. Yeah, because he was hurt.
Sorry.
So he was hurt at like 114.
Okay.
Where is it? Oh, sorry, I was looking at the wrong one. Yeah. So he was hurt with 139 left on the clock, which if the clock doesn't stop there, and that was on first and goal, if the clock doesn't stop, then they they're able to wind it down and just kick the field goal. But with 140 on first and goal, and with the Broncos having timeouts, they couldn't take it down all the way to not give the Broncos a chance to score a touchdown. So it kind of made Cincinnati kind of try for the touchdown, which I think they kind of gave.
Sure.
But then again, like your defense had not really been playing as well as they should towards the end of the game. You go for two. Like go for two, win the game. That one's not as egregious though, but the other one, like Washington, Atlanta, I wonder if with Atlanta, I wonder if what's his face, Raheem, is gonna be there next year. Like I've seen some.
Oh, really? You've been hearing rumors about him?
Yeah, I have. I start to wonder because of the fact that like a lot of like mismanagement shit seems to be going on there.
Okay. And
I
he's a
don't
guy
know.
that he's had the head coach stuff before in an interim capacity at least, but or maybe it was more than that with I don't know the Buccaneers or whatever. But either way, I mean, um, that's interesting because I've not heard about him potentially being on the hot seat.
Yeah, like I've seen little bits and pieces about it, but nothing too concrete. And like I just like see some issues going on there,
Okay.
like with clock management, not understanding the situation. Hold on,
Sure.
I think somebody forgot that we were tonight because I got a text. Where'd you go?
I'm at the club.
Yeah, I'm at the club. So,
Uh,
but it's just like rumblings I'm seeing. I'm seeing like I don't know. There's some coaches like that just I don't like what I see out of them, and I wouldn't like McCarthy. Like really?
oh yeah. Yeah, that's tough because, there's a lot of talk about the players trying to rally behind him and keep him around. Um, I don't know, man. I just it's tough. I mean, I think that like I've just naturally hated him from his time in Green Bay. And so when I try to like step back and not be as biased about it, I do look at like last year without Kellen Moore at offensive coordinator, he did put up like one of the top, if not the top offenses. And so it's like I know the guy is good at you know, a lot of different things. I just also think that he's lacking some of like maybe the charisma that a leader in the NFL needs to have nowadays. And that's the thing where it's weird that the players are now all of a sudden talking about rallying behind him because it seemed like he was kind of just like a dead fish leader and nobody was really behind him. And so I don't know.
Yeah. Outside that, speaking of coaches, Jets have started their GM and coach search and have interviewed. First, they interviewed for GM Louis Riddick, and they interviewed for coach Ron Rivera. One thing I have to say is if you have both a GM and a coaching opening,
Yeah.
hire your GM and then find your coach. Because you don't want to saddle your GM with a coach that, well, I wouldn't have hired him. And I don't know, Louis Riddick, I don't understand why he's being considered as a GM. Like he has very
interviews. Yeah, I think the last 2 years maybe for that, and nothing's happened. So I'm sure he's just still on the radar.
Yeah, but like he hasn't been in the front offices in the NFL for over 11 years. He was in the front office or as a team executive. He was the Commanders. They were the Redskins from 2001 to 2004. He was a pro scout. And then from 5 to 7, he was director of pro personnel. In 2008, he was a scout for the Philadelphia Eagles. A pro scout for the Philadelphia Eagles. In 2009, he was assistant director of pro personnel. And then 2010 to 2013, he was director of pro personnel. Like, that doesn't shout at me as...
Yeah, and he's been an analyst ever since, right? And so I think some of that is people are just leaning on, I don't know, his analytical skills and critique of the game and things that they're hearing and seeing. And he's probably a great communicator. And, I'm sure there's other things that you get behind the scenes that we don't really know because I've heard a lot of people kind of like trying to vouch for him these last couple hiring cycles, but just hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. Like,
did you say Rex Ryan yet for the Jets?
I did not hear the Rex Ryan.
Oh my gosh. I thought it had to be a bad joke, but yeah, apparently they were bringing Rex Ryan back in for an interview, which just blows my mind. But and I liked Rex Ryan, but I mean he's been out of it for a long time now. So it just seems strange, but crazier shit happens, I guess.
That's honestly, if you think about the Jets, that's like the last time they were good was when he was their coach.
Yeah,
like,
they did have those couple AFC championship appearances.
Yeah, I mean, he was also. I'm also seeing that Vrabel might interview there.
Yeah, I like Vrabel. I'd like to see him get back in the game.
But everything I'm reading, and I think it kind of threw a wrench in it because everything I was reading was Ryan Day at Ohio State was going to be fired at the end of the season, and Vrabel was going to take over as head coach.
Oh yeah, I remember you saying that. Yeah.
But then now Ohio State's in the college football semifinals, so like I don't know.
Yeah, he might be safe.
Yeah, but I think Ohio State's basing it on the fact that Ryan Day can't beat the University of Michigan.
Yep. Well, I mean, if he somehow gets that national championship, I think they would forgive him at least for one more year.
Yeah. So he won his first game against Michigan and have lost his last 4.
Yeah. Yeah, for those two programs, that's going to be pressure on the head coach no matter what.
Yeah. So, but I think it's bad to judge just based on one game because I think he's like, I want to say he's 70-10 overall as coach of Ohio State. I do look at him and want to punch him in the face, but
yes, I concur.
Okay, so he's 68-10.
That's a pretty sweet record, man.
So outside of against Michigan, he's 67-6. So what, 90%?
Yeah, you can do the math.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Sounds about right. Equals 67 divided by 73 is 91.78%.
Sweetness.
I just 87% if you include Michigan. Like that's a damn good coaching record. Like,
Yeah.
but whatever. Anyways, I digress.
All right. Well, anything else on the news?
No, that's about it.
Okay. Well, my man, whenever you're ready, let's kick it over to the power rankings. Oh, I was just looking at the spreadsheet you sent me. Week 18 actual picks. That's funny. All right, yeah. Give me your Week 18 1 through 5 power rankings, bud.
All right. So really 1 through 10 from last week, there's no changes. Buffalo, Detroit, Kansas City, Baltimore, and Philadelphia. Top 5, all won. I'm not going to kill. There's nowhere to really go. Besides, like, all of them were fairly dominant performances besides, like, one. So, and that was San Francisco, where Detroit hadn't won in like 14 appearances there, so including playoffs.
Yeah. No reason to rock the boat. I hear you, man. All right, yeah. On my side, 1, 2, 3, 4 stayed the same. Buffalo, Kansas City, Detroit, Philly. And then at 5, I bumped up Minnesota one spot on the win over Green Bay, which, you and I kind of talked about it last week, where I kind of had to make an adjustment with one of those two teams either
Yeah.
way. And so that was kind of like the ideal week for me to have that pop up.
All right, and like I said, 6 through 10 stayed the same for me. Pittsburgh, they lost, but they lost to Kansas City, who I think is just that much better than, like, outside of like I think the top 4, and then everyone else are that much better than everybody else. Minnesota, they won. I could have put them ahead of Pittsburgh. That's the only real move, but I think head to head, I think Pittsburgh would win. And then the Commanders, they won. Packers, they lost to Minnesota, but I think it feels right them being at 9, even though they lost. They lost to a team that was ranked higher. I had ranked higher than them. And then the Chargers, nowhere really to go down for them.
Okay, I got you. Let's see. My 6, I've got Baltimore, bump them up 1. 7, Green Bay, I dropped them 2. And then 8, 9, 10 stayed the same with Pittsburgh, Washington, and Tampa Bay. Kind of like what you were saying about Pittsburgh. They lost to my number 1 team on the board, so kind of hard to punish them. For Washington,
Pittsburgh's not your number 1 team. Number 2.
I'm
Pittsburgh didn't
sorry.
lose to your number 1. They lost to your number 2.
Lost to my number 2. Thank you. Yes, I even wrote in there my number 1 team. But see, that's the problem. They were number 1 for so long, it just got burned in my brain. But and then with 9 and 10, they got locked by the board. So Washington, Tampa Bay. So, and thank you for correcting me, James. I appreciate it.
Then for me, 11 through 15, all new teams. Seattle moved up 1 spot off the win. Yeah, they beat Chicago, but part of it was I had Denver here, and I had to move Denver down after losing to Cincinnati. And so since Seattle, Tampa Bay, the Rams all got 1 spot bumped at 11, 12, and 13. The Bengals, I moved them up 5 spots. I don't really like the Bengals being this high from what I've seen this season. It's really like Joe Burrow
and Jamar Chase just playing He-Man for them.
Yeah, but I had to get them ahead of Denver, and I feel like they're better than Miami right now, who I have at 15, who just moved up 1 spot. And ironically, the tiebreaker here is kind of the reverse order, where if Miami wins and Denver loses, Miami makes the playoffs. For Cincinnati to make the playoffs, they need Miami and Denver to lose.
Gotcha. Okay, good to know. All right, so on my side at 11, I've got the Los Angeles Chargers. Similar to the last couple teams, they were kind of locked in on the board here. 12, I've got the Bengals. I moved them up 3. I agree with you. It's kind of high, but it's like, holy shit, you're saying there's a chance, and they just fucking win until it comes down to the end here. And so they're exciting on offense. They're just god awful on defense. And so we'll see how it shakes out for them. But 13, I've got Denver. I dropped them down 1. 14, I've got the Los Angeles Rams. I bumped them up 2, and that was, a little bit similar to the Cincy thing where it's like, holy shit, there's a chance. It's like,
No,
it looked like
they've won their division.
Oh
They
shit!
clinched
All
their
right,
division.
so it's not even a chance. It's a
I
done deal.
think.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they clinched their division.
All right, because I mean, like I think midway through the season we were looking like, oh, they're fucked, right? And
Yeah.
and now here they are kicking ass. And so, and of course with Stafford, Puka Nakua, and Cooper Kupp, it's like, and Kyron Williams. I don't want to take anything away from him. It's like anything can happen with that team, right? And so, if they're in, you got to watch out for them. And then at 15, Houston, I dropped them down 2. So that's my 11 through 15.
Yeah, so they won the division when Washington beat Atlanta
Okay.
because they needed to win, and they needed the strength of victory to go their way, and so they needed four of these teams: Washington, Minnesota, San Francisco, Cincinnati, Buffalo, and Cleveland. 4 of those 6 to win, and they got those 4 with Washington, Minnesota, Cincinnati,
Nice.
and Buffalo winning. So that clinched the division for them last week. So it's more than a chance. They're in the playoffs. They can actually still get the number 3 seed if they win and. If they win and let me see, some other things go their way. So Tampa Bay, because looking at it, if Tampa Bay beats New Orleans, and Atlanta beats Carolina, and they lose. Yeah. So if they win, basically, if they beat Seattle, basically no matter what happens in Tampa Bay or Atlanta, they win. They get the number 3 seed. Where if they lose to Seattle, they'll get the 4 seed.
Okay. Good to know. All right, well, give me 16 through 20, bud.
All right, so at 16, I have the Broncos. I dropped them 5 spots. Part of it was my frustration with the clock management and the not understanding the situation, but also part of it was the fact that they lost and the teams behind them won, and I had to get them behind Cincinnati because they lost to Cincinnati. 17, I have the Falcons. They stayed the same even though they lost to Washington. 18, I have the Texans. I dropped them 3 spots. I know last week I said I probably was going to put them at 20, but once I actually looked at it, that game for Houston didn't matter.
Okay.
On Christmas Day. No matter what happened in that game, they had no chance of getting the 3 seed. They were locked into the 4 seed. They already won their division, so I'm not going to kill them as much for it, but I still think it was kind of a pathetic performance, so I had to give
Stroud looked like dog shit.
Yeah, drop them a little bit. The Colts, I wanted to kill them this week for losing to the Giants, but all factors considered, I didn't, because I think they're like right on the cusp. They just need a quarterback, and a quarterback that's not going to pull them outside this game. Speaking of the Colts, did you see Pat McAfee's comment about how shitty the organization is? And keep in mind, he was a punter for the Colts, and how he's not going to re-up his season tickets because like you have a professional quarterback that's pulling himself out of a game because he's tired, and it's just a losing culture, and he's fed up with it.
I mean, hey, I don't blame him for saying it. He was in the game, he was in that organization, and we've seen some weird shit happen there.
And then at 20, I have the Cowboys. They lost to Philadelphia, who I have in my top 5. It feels just right for them being here.
Yeah, I got you. All right, so on my side, 16, I've got Miami. I dropped them down 2 spots. They won their game, but I'm pushing them to the bottom of my basically playoff eligible teams here, which the next team is 17 with Atlanta. They're still alive. I moved them up 1 spot. Penix is showing more flashes. It's pretty cool for him, and it made, like you said, that game was exciting to watch, right? And so that's good for everybody. 18, this is the start of the eliminated teams. I've got the Seahawks. I dropped them down 1 spot. 19, the Colts. Despite the loss, like you're saying, I wanted to drop them. I just kind of took a pause and I thought, in my opinion, they're better than the rest of these eliminated teams, like based on the body of work from the season. And so I just kept them here. And then at 20, I've got the 49ers. They're locked by the board. And I mean, talent wise, they should be in the top 5, right? But they obviously couldn't pull it together with all the injuries and some of the adversity they faced this year. And so power ranking wise, they are down, my man. So back to you at 21.
21, 22, 23, all say the same. They lost, but it just they were kind of locked in because a lot of teams lost in here. Carolina, then Arizona, then Cleveland. 24, I moved the Raiders up 4 spots. The reason it's a 4-spot bump is because I had to get them ahead of New Orleans, and I really think I'm seeing flashes out of the Raiders that I like. As opposed to the other teams that I have below them. Then 25, the Saints dropped them 1 spot. Like I said, they just lost to the Raiders.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't really, I guess, think too hard about putting the Raiders above the Saints, but I probably could have done that because I did an adjustment with them later on. Maybe just because I had them so much further down my board. But 21, Arizona, and these next 5 for me, none of them moved. They all kind of got locked in on the board. So Arizona, Dallas, New Orleans, Carolina, Chicago, and then just past that, I've got the Raiders at 26, which I wanted to give them a bump because I was thinking about they beat Baltimore earlier in the year, and I wanted to give them a little bit of credit for that I probably should have done sooner. But that gets me so close to them and the Saints now where I'm like, damn, I should have probably thought about that. But anyhow, back to you at 26.
26, Niners. I didn't drop them because they lost to Detroit. It was more of the fact that I had to get the Raiders ahead of the Saints, and I think the Saints are playing just slightly better than the 49ers, even though the 49ers have injuries. Jets dropped. So San Francisco dropped 1. New York Jets dropped 1, not because they lost to Baltimore, but it's more because of the Raiders. 28, I have the Jaguars. I moved them up 1 spot. A lot of it has to do with the fact that I have a new dumpster fire team, and I had to figure out the board here, and so that's why Jacksonville got a 1-spot bump, even though they beat my number 30 team. 29, I have the Giants, who I had in the dumpster fire for so many weeks, and but then they won, surprisingly. Not only won, they dominated that game. So I gave them a 2-spot bump. And then 30, Tennessee, they lost to Jacksonville. They stayed the same.
Gotcha. Yeah, so for me, 26, as I mentioned, the Raiders, they got a 2-spot bump. 27, the Jets, they stayed the same, kind of locked in by the board. Plus, they beat Jacksonville, which I've got at 28. They went up 1 spot. 29, I've got the New York Giants. I moved them up 3 because when I was looking at some of the earlier stuff, they did beat Cleveland, and they ended up with the same record here. And so that's where I got Cleveland now at 30, who I dropped down 4 spots.
All right. My new dumpster fire team is the Patriots. I dropped them 4. Even though I really like what Drake May is doing there, I had to figure out between, it was basically the Jets, the Jaguars, the Titans, and New England. And I looked at it and I thought, well, I think all those teams would beat New England right now, even though I like what I see out of Drake May. So I put New England at 31, and then the Bears, they lost. I'm not going to move them from 32.
Hey, that's fine, man. For me, at 31, I got Tennessee. I dropped them down one. And then at 32, I've got New England. So New England was already in my dumpster fire. They're just now all the way at the bottom. And Tennessee slid into it. I think New England, like you said, they've got tons of potential with Drake May for the future if they can build around him. I think Tennessee, they've got talent. They just are like desperately in need of a halfway decent quarterback now. And so, their seasons are cooked, but it's the end of the year and that's just how it goes. So it is what it is.
All right. So, game picks.
I know it's going to be tough for you, but I'm just going to let you handle it like a man.
So, couple things, couple games I forgot to text you about, which I'm annoyed about, which is fine. As soon as I heard Chuba Hubbard was out, I was like, oh, I've got to switch to Tampa Bay. And because I talked about how Chuba Hubbard was the key to victory for Carolina. I don't know what the fuck I was smoking. I just had a gut feeling, like literally right before kickoff with Dallas, Philadelphia. I just had this gut feeling hit me, and I don't know. I think I was still asleep or something because I don't know what the fuck I was thinking.
You were feeling a little frisky, and you needed to throw some darts.
Yeah, I needed to throw some darts. I knew I was. It's a tough road to hoe. I was down 10 going into this past week. Now I'm down 16. I got 7 right. For 165 total. You got 13 right for 181 total. And those of you that can do math means you are 16 games ahead of me with 16 games remaining. So
your picks are very easy to make this week, James.
Yes. My picks were very easy to make. Some of them I think have a chance. Some of them I don't. Really think that. Like that's why I put my actual, because like my actual picks are slightly different on what I'm thinking on it. But
yeah, and I mean it's week 18, like you mentioned. There's a lot of teams now that are kind of like locked in for where they're going to be in the playoffs. And then there's a lot of teams that are locked out of the playoffs. And so anything can happen in this week where you just wouldn't expect it because you don't necessarily know who's going to be going all out versus who's going to be maybe bringing in some backups to see what they got maybe for next year or whatever, and any of that kind of stuff. So, and
also because we do our spreadsheet so early, we didn't have the listing of when the games, so we're probably going to have this. We're not going to have like the Saturday. We know the Saturday games, we know the Sunday games, and the Sunday night game, but they're going to be intermixed and not in the order for those that are hanging on tooth and nail for what we're picking and trying to do it in order. So just so you know, first up in our picks, we have 49ers at the Cardinals. Now, I actually, for my actual, I actually think Arizona is going to win the game. Okay. With Purdy being out, and like San Francisco's just looking towards the future. On that, like that.
Yeah, I've heard some rumors that they might not extend him. They might give a guy like Cousins a look.
That's what I was thinking too. Like this is his second nerve injury in his arm.
Yeah.
So
I would just be nervous about Cousins at this stage of his career. That's all I would be concerned with is, his mobility was obviously a big concern this year, and at his age, I don't know that it's getting much better.
Yeah, but for our purposes, like I said, I have to pick against you. So maybe we should have you give your picks first this week.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I'm with San Francisco, even though I don't like it.
Yeah, so I've got Arizona, and a lot of what I did for my picks, James, has been the same process throughout the whole year. I'm trying to let my power rankings dictate who I'm going to give the win to. And if it's close, I'm going with the home team as sort of the tiebreaker. I do kind of like looking at the NFL.com stats, but they're very deceiving. Like, for example, this game is like a prime reason to, negate some of this is San Francisco number 5 on offense, number 6 on defense, and they're not making the playoffs. I mean, how does that happen? It's just fucking nuts, right? And so, um, Arizona, 11 on offense, 18th on defense. You know, I got them higher on my board, and it's at home for them, so I'm taking them.
All right. Then
Or
we
actually, I'm
have
sorry, I had San Fran one spot higher, but because they're that close, I'm going with Arizona, which is the home team.
And we have a game with playoff implications. The Panthers at the Falcons. The Falcons win and need help to make the playoffs. I think I really like what I see out of Penix. In all actuality, I would go with Atlanta in this game. But because of situations, I'm going
Because I
with
picked
Carolina.
Atlanta.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, for me, I have these teams, in different places on the board, right? And Carolina's kind of been one of my bottom feeders all year. This is one where it's like they're kind of like on par for the course with their NFL.com stats. So like converse from what we saw with the 49ers. Carolina's 31st on offense, 32nd on defense, and they're just, their record pretty much reflects that at 4-12. And so the Falcons, I do believe they're a different team now that they've, handed off the baton from Cousins to Penix. It changes what they can do on offense. And, hey, the goal for them is that hopefully Penix has the higher ceiling now. And so I like that move. And, yeah, I'm going with Atlanta in this one.
All right, then we have, I believe it's the Saturday afternoon game, the Browns at the Ravens. The Ravens win. They win the division, get the, what seed would they be? I think they'd be the 3 seed because Buffalo is locked in, but I want to verify that.
Sure.
Yeah. So if Baltimore wins, they'd be the 3 seed, or Pittsburgh loses, they'd be the 3 seed, and also with. So, anyways, with the Ravens, the one thing to know about this game is Bailey Zappi starting at quarterback for the Browns, and I knew that going into what I sent you as my actual picks and my pick for this week. My actual pick for this week is I think the Browns are going to win the game. Baltimore annoys me for some reason right now. And I like
they annoy me every year, but yeah.
I like kind of like there's not that much. I've liked what I've seen out of Bailey Zappi when he's played in New England, when they were devoid of talent. So I'm just with Cleveland in my actual and this week for our purposes of our game picks.
Hey, that's fine. Which, by the way, Cleveland did beat Baltimore earlier in the year, right? And so these divisional games, you just never know. And I kind of like that and I know we've talked about this the last couple of years. I like that they've been stacking these divisional games in that final week of the season because it means, there's always something to play for, even if you're in or out, because you always want to knock off one of your division rivals. And so I think Cleveland's going to try, but Baltimore has something on the line. And so they're going to try harder, and they're going to come out on top. I've got Baltimore in the top 5, and I've got Cleveland in the bottom 5. I got to respect that.
All right, then we have the Washington Commanders at the Dallas Cowboys. So implications in seeding in this game. Let's take a look. If Washington beats Dallas, they'll be the number 6 seed. If they lose to Dallas, and then it depends on what happens in the Green Bay game, for them to be the number 6 or 7 seed. If they lose to Dallas and Green Bay wins, Green Bay's the 6, versus if they lose to Dallas and Chicago wins, then Washington will be the 7. But I think honestly, if I was Washington, I think I would rather play the Eagles than the Rams, or Tampa Bay or Atlanta. I think you have the extra motivation of it being the playoffs and being your division rival, and I would rather see that. I would also rather see that game on that game versus the other potential games. So for my actual picks this week, I'm actually on Dallas.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because you're seeing it as more of a strategic move by Washington.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Well, and so yeah, this is another weird one, right? Because Dallas did beat Washington like a month ago, and so you never know with these divisional games. But I'm respecting my process. I'm respecting my board. I've got Washington in the top 10, and I've got Dallas in the bottom 10, and so got to go Washington.
All right. Then we have Kansas City at Denver. Playoff implications. Kansas City's locked up the number one seed. They have nothing to play for. They're sitting everybody and their mother versus Denver Broncos, who need to win the game or need Cincinnati and Miami both to lose their games this week. So they will know if Cincinnati won or lost their game going into this game. With Kansas City resting everybody and Carson Wentz playing quarterback for them, I don't know if that's much of a change. If Mahomes would be playing if they had locked up the number one seed or not, I'm not certain about that. Um, but I think Denver has a solid chance at winning the game, and that would be my actual pick based on what I'm seeing. And this is I kind of had this at the beginning of the season in our I believe it was our way too early. Let me get back to
Sure.
that in our let's see, draft grades. Where the is it? Desktop.
Yeah, and while you're looking, I've got Denver, based on Kansas City benching everybody. So normally I would probably take the Chiefs, but because we know that this game is going to be shifted for that purpose, I'm taking Denver, who definitely has a lot to play for.
Yeah, so I don't know. I had Kansas City in the way too early in my mock result. I mean, for our purposes, for the bet, I'm on Kansas City, but I think Denver's really going to win the game. I don't want to say who I have in this next game. We have probably the game of the century, probably the most important regular season game, or second most important regular season game in NFL history.
Okay.
I say it's a close tie
Should we
between
just,
this.
should we just skip this one or come back to it
I say it's a close tie between this game and what was that 2008 when the Giants and the Patriots played at the end of the last game of the regular season on the Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening game where the Patriots had a chance to finish the regular season undefeated. I I'd say those two games are probably and this game coming up are probably the two of the most important games in regular season games in NFL history. I hate my pick, so I'll let you say why you picked who you picked, and I'm obviously going after you, but I don't want to say it
Sure.
out loud.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm taking Detroit, right? We've been on the Detroit bandwagon this year. Can't get off it now. Um, the injuries are definitely scaring me, especially the way that the 49ers carved us up last week. And so, um, Minnesota is fairly healthy and looking like they're firing on all cylinders. But it's in Detroit. These guys are resilient. That number one seed is on the line. I think Dan Campbell tried playing it down a little bit this week and said, well, it's not a playoff game, so,
Mm.
but it does have playoff implications. And so I think Detroit wants it bad, whether they're saying it or not. And, I got them coming out on top.
In my actual picks, I have them winning. All right, then we have the Jaguars at the Colts, and in a meaningless game, uh,
Oh, the Bears and the Packers, you mean next?
Oh, Bears and the Packers next. So basically, the Packers win, they lock up the number 6 seed. The Packers lose, then depends on what happens with Washington for the number 6 seed, 6 and 7 seed.
Yeah, crazy to think that Chicago started like 4-2, and they haven't won a game since.
Yeah, but we talked about that and talked about that how they had a soft
Yeah,
opening schedule for 6 7 weeks of the season was very soft for Chicago, and it depended on how Caleb Williams. I think the league did Chicago a little bit of a disservice with that because Caleb Williams, once he saw adversity, it was hard to get away from that.
yeah. I just thought he would have settled in, right, and
Yeah,
progressed. And man, they just I don't know. They squandered like a great scenario being handed to them. So,
yeah,
but obviously, I'm taking the Packers here. You know, they're top 10 offense, top 10 defense. Chicago's bottom of the barrel, 32nd on offense, 25th on defense. So it's, and Green Bay's playing for something, Chicago's not. So,
yeah. But Green Bay is playing for something. For Green Bay, I think I would rather play Tampa or Atlanta versus at Philadelphia.
sure.
But I'm not saying that. I think you're right. I think Green Bay is going to win the game, but I obviously have to go the opposite of you. So I'm on the Bears.
Hmm.
Do I think the Bears have a chance? Yeah, I think they have a chance. I think they want to. Chicago wants to spoil the potential 6 seed for Green Bay and kind of kill them out. Not kill them out, but you know drop them down. It's kind of like the Lions playing at Green Bay with they won, it was at 21, 22, 22. When if Green Bay won the game, the last game of the year, they made the playoffs and Detroit went in to Green Bay and beat them. I think
Yeah.
there's a chance that that could happen again because I don't think Green Bay is going to go extra hard in this game because it's not meaningless, but it's almost meaningless, and they're going to have a tough matchup next week. And I said Atlanta, I meant the Rams. I think Green Bay would rather play the Eagles than the Rams.
Sure. Okay. I got you.
And then we have the meaningless game of the Jaguars at the Colts. Honestly, the these teams suck.
Yeah, I mean,
I
I
think.
could see this game going either way. I think,
Mhm.
we've talked about it a couple times recently where I think the Mac Jones led Jaguars have shown signs of life, and that's been nice. Um, Plus, I think Doug Peterson is on the fringe, whether people are saying it or not, and so they're going to want to close it out strong. But, in terms of my power rankings and how I got the board set up, Indy is significantly higher and it's at home, and so I'm sticking with them in this game.
Yeah, I think I really think Indy's going to use the motivation of what McAfee said and other stuff to go out and they'll win this game. They want to end on a winning note. Um, they haven't announced who their starter is going to be this week, if it's going to be Flacco or Anthony Richardson. But honestly, the Colts have nothing to play for. Jaguars have nothing to play for.
Yeah,
It's more of a pride thing, and which team has more pride. Um, so, but for our purposes, I'm on Jacksonville, even though I think the Colts are really going to win the game.
gotcha.
Then we have the Seahawks at the Rams. It's really a meaningless game, kind of a meaningless game. The Rams, in theory, could get the number 3 seed if they win the game. The Rams are starting actually Jimmy G at quarterback. I did not know he was on the Rams, but
Oh, I didn't even know that. Okay.
yeah. So
I'm still gonna stick with the Rams despite learning that, but you know, I'm respecting the process with my board and everything. The Rams are ahead and they're at home, and so I'm gonna go with that. But yeah, I do appreciate you sharing that intel.
Yeah, I think if the Rams were going out, I think this is also going to be a pride thing with Seattle. Um, but I don't think that actually Seattle has a shot at winning this game. Whether whoever's playing at quarterback for the Rams, I think the Rams and McVay will navigate that well and win the game. But for our purposes, I have to go with the Seahawks.
Okay.
All right. Then the Chargers at the Raiders. I haven't seen much news about. Okay, so Herbert is starting. So the Chargers are playing it out. Chargers really, I don't believe have. They do. They have a shot. They have a shot at the 5 seed. So they would win the tiebreaker over Cincinnati, Denver, depending on what happens with Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't see, you know, Jim Harbaugh laying down. I think he wants to win every game no matter what. And so,
yeah, and given them having the 5 seed versus the 6 seed is like they'd be playing who would, with the 5 seed they would be playing Houston versus playing the Ravens, which I think
yeah, it's a big
think
difference.
that's a big difference there. Ravens or the Steelers, depending on which one.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm taking the Chargers.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the Chargers will win that game. I just I like what I see out of the Raiders. I like the fight I see out of the Raiders. I think they need some pieces and they'll be good. They have a lot of they went into New Orleans and won that game, but that's New Orleans. They're playing at home against the Chargers. It's a divisional game, be a good game, but I think I have to go with the Raiders.
Okay.
All right, then we have the Buffalo Bills at the Patriots, and the Bills have nothing to play for. I haven't seen if Allen was playing or not. Um,
Yeah, I was just trying to look at that, but I'm not seeing
okay,
it
so it
either.
looks like Josh Allen's going to start the game to keep his consecutive start streak alive, but it's not certain how long he will play.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, in any
Joe
event,
Milton, Joe Milton took non-scout snaps this week.
okay. Yeah, and so I'm taking Buffalo. Obviously, you know, if they start benching people early, that could be a factor, but my pick is going to be on Buffalo either way.
I'm sorry, Joe Milton took non-scout snaps for the Patriots, so there's a possibility that Mayo's going to start, but Mayo's going to start and Allen are going to start, but it depends on what I'm seeing is Allen's going to play a quote short amount of time, which probably means 1 or 2
Keep them
series,
from getting
3 series,
rusty.
keep him from getting
Yeah,
rusty, keep his consecutive
starts.
starts. Who is their backup quarterback? Do you know off the top of your head?
No, I do not, but I'll let you know in just a second. I'm pulling it up.
I
Mitch Trubisky.
Mitchell Trubisky. Hmm. I really think that Buffalo they want to beat New England, but they're not going to put that much of an emphasis on it. They're going to get their players out there, have a series or two, not to get rusty. But I think the Patriots actually can run away with this game because I don't think that the starters are going to play much because there's no reason to keep them out there. They're
Yeah.
locked in at the number 2 seed. They can't improve their positioning. They can't get worse.
Yeah, and the
And
flip side, Gerard Mayo, he kind of needs to close it out on a win. Like
exactly.
Kraft kind of made some cryptic comments about him being safe unless there was like a horrendous closeout to the year. And it's been pretty horrendous, right? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, either way, I'm taking Buffalo. You got New England. I got you.
And I think I would pick New England even if I didn't have to.
Sure.
All right, then we have the Dolphins at the Jets. Playoff implications here. The Dolphins win. They also need Cincinnati and Denver. I'm sorry, they need Denver to lose against who's Denver
Kansas
playing?
City.
Kansas City. And then if Denver loses and Miami wins, the Jets make the playoffs. I think Miami has something. Dolphins, sorry, you're right. I think I'm seeing the Jets here, and I just was locked in on them. I think the Jets are a shitty team and have no shot at winning this game, but unfortunately, I have to pick them. Miami has a lot to play for, but I think I think Miami will, even though I want to verify that.
Tua's playing or not.
Yeah, I thought I
injury.
heard that what's his face, Skyler or whatever his name is.
Didn't Huntley start last week?
Oh, it's Huntley. Sorry, I forgot about Huntley.
And he had a good game.
Yes.
You know, he was having a little party on the sideline with his receivers, man. So, you know, I'm taking the Dolphins. Basically, like you said, they got something to play for. Really, for the Jets, the only thing that they got to play for is Aaron Rodgers maybe trying to go out on a high note, because this could potentially be his last NFL game. So
it could potentially be his last NFL game. It most likely is his last game with the Jets.
Yeah.
Do I think that matters? No. I don't think the Jets have a chance at winning this game. And yeah, so Mike McDaniel told reporters the team is preparing Huntley to start.
Okay.
So it looks like Huntley is starting. I actually like Huntley. I don't think he's not as dynamic as Tua, but I think he's a quality quarterback.
He's good mobile, you know. He can move around.
Yeah.
Career backup, but, you know, he showed flashes in Baltimore, you know, like I think.
Which that kind of pissed me off during the game this past weekend, how they were commenting on how Huntley made it to the Pro Bowl. Yeah. Everybody else opted out of the fucking Pro Bowl. So,
that's the garbage of the Pro Bowl. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Then we have the Giants at the Eagles. Look, the Giants surprised a lot of people this past week.
Yeah.
The Eagles are resting everybody. They in fact are starting Tanner McKee at quarterback.
Hey yo.
Whoever the fuck that is. Also, did you see that how A.J. Brown caught Tanner McKee's first NFL touchdown pass and threw it into the stands?
Yeah, but I did see that the team security guy got it back.
Yeah, and A.J. Brown gave him the signed game-worn jersey.
Yeah.
Or like the jersey wore in the game, and signed it to get the ball after the game to get the ball back.
Amends.
Yeah. But the Eagles aren't playing anybody. The Giants have kind of been on a little bit of played an excellent game against the Colts. And yeah, it's the Colts, but I thought they looked excellent. They may have found their starting quarterback in Drew Lock, which is odd to say because I never said
sample size, man. Too small.
Yeah, but I just really liked what I saw out of Drew Lock. I don't think Tanner McKee has a chance at winning this game. So even if I wasn't forced to, I would be picking the Giants in this game.
I gotcha. I'm still going to take the Eagles. Following my process, it got me this far. I know this week is super dicey, but it's it's hard to pick some of these games when you talk about it the way you do. There's just, it's like backups and, teams as bottom feeders and all this stuff going on. It makes it tricky. And so I'm just defaulting to my board and taking Philly.
All right. Then we have the Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. Both teams have a little bit to play for. Pittsburgh wins the game. Pittsburgh win. So first, Pittsburgh can still win the division and get the number 3 seed, or they can be the number 5 or 6 seed. Pittsburgh has to win the game to get the 5 seed. So they'll kind of know a little bit of their playoff fate because Cleveland plays right before them. So they'll know the result of Baltimore, so they'll know what they're playing for. But with the 5 seed in line, I think that's a better seed. I think playing Houston is a lot better than a rematch against Baltimore.
Sure.
For them. So either way, if they can win the division, if they can't win the division, I think that they would go all out for this game. Period. Because just how the 5-6 seed matchup would line up. But then again, on the flip side, Cincinnati could theoretically get into the playoffs, so they would need Miami to lose and they would need Denver to lose. So this is kind of why I thought they were going to be the Saturday night game, because of the fact that both teams right now have something to play for. They could theoretically, depending on what happens over the weekend, not have a chance. Cincinnati could not have a chance to make the playoffs, depending on what happens Sunday. So it was a logical pick to be on Saturday. So it kind of tells you it's still with Denver and Miami. Denver and Miami, no matter what happens this game, has a chance to. Both of them have a chance to make the playoffs if they win. So this is why I thought it was going to be the Saturday game. I think Cincinnati's been on tear. I would love to see Cincinnati make the playoffs. Do I think it's realistic? No. I think if Cincinnati makes the playoffs, honestly, I think Joe Burrow should be the MVP because he basically and Jamar Chase put that team on their backs and dragged them to the playoffs kicking and streaming because there's nothing else going on good on that team, on Cincinnati. I honestly think Pittsburgh's going to win the game. I think it'll be a close game. It's a divisional game, but because somebody decided to pick Pittsburgh, I have to go with the Bengals.
Yeah, I mean, I do like how well you're breaking it all down still, even though you got the uphill battle, you're not giving up your fight here, James. And so I appreciate that. I'm taking Pittsburgh. I think that, Tomlin, he wants that division title if he can get it. And he just is great at coaching the shit out of his teams. And this year, they've got a more balanced team than they've had in a long time. Cincinnati's very one-sided, and I agree with you. If Cincinnati does get in the playoffs, Burrow should be the fucking MVP. He is like just willed them to winning, and man, if they had just like the teeniest, tiniest little better defense, they would be such a different team. It just and this is where I think people in that front office need to be fired, man, because how you go from being in the Super Bowl a couple years ago to the defense just like dramatically falling off the map like it has, that is fucking garbage, dude. So, but I'm taking Pittsburgh in this game.
All right, then that brings us to the Saints at the Buccaneers. Playoff implications: Bucs win, they make the playoffs. Bucs lose, Atlanta wins, Atlanta makes the playoffs. Let me take a look. I believe the Bucs can still get the 3 seed. So the Bucs can still get the 3 seed if Tampa Bay wins and Seattle beats the Rams, then Tampa Bay would be the 3 seed, versus if Tampa Bay wins and the Rams win, they would be the 3 seed. Atlanta can't get the 3 seed. Their only hope is the 4 seed if they win and Tampa Bay loses. Spencer Rattler's playing for the Saints, and Alvin Kamara's out again. From what I'm reading, Saints really have nothing to play for but to play for spoilers. I think the Saints kind of want to. I think losing to the Raiders left a bad taste in the mouth for the Saints, and excuse me. And I think the Saints are gonna come all out in this game. I think Baker's due for a down game, but also. Like some of the comments, so some of the comments I'm reading that Baker Mayfield said this week piss me off. Like,
All right.
like he said, and I'm looking for the exact comment, but his quote was, "If we win, it was kind of like, if we win, what's his face? Evans will make sure Evans gets 1,000 yards,
1,000-yard season. Yep.
which is not the right sentiment going into the game. It's not if we win.
Yeah.
It's we'll win, and Mayfield, Evans chase for 1,000 yards. If we win, Mike is getting the record because he's looking for his 11th season with 1,000 yards.
I hope he gets it, by the way, whether they win or not, because that's just been a hell of a start to a career for Mike Evans. But I think Tampa Bay wins because Baker, he's good at dialing in when there's pressure on him. And so I think that even though New Orleans is down and out, there is still some pressure on Tampa Bay to win this game. And so I think they'll come out on top, no problem, man.
Yeah, also part of my pick, actually, I would pick the Saints this game no matter what, because I don't want Tampa Bay to make the playoffs. You'd
pick them just because you don't want Tampa Bay to make the playoffs?
Yes, I would.
All right, I got you.
But I think also though the Saints are going to come out looking to play that spoiler role, and will do it.
Yeah. Okay. Final game. Texans,
Final game pick Texans at the Titans. Kind of surprised me when I read, and I'm double checking this because I can't believe that they're doing that. Nothing can't go up, can't go down for the Texans. They're locked in on the 4 seed. No matter what happens in any of the other games this weekend, they're locked in on the 4 seed.
Okay.
And so I'm kind of surprised that they're not resting CJ Stroud. Let him get his. But then again, also he did have that dismal performance.
He was last week. Yeah, get him back on track, man.
Yeah, you do need to get him back on track, but I think his health is more important than more important. If he's not healthy, you can't get him back on track.
Yeah. And you can't predict injuries, but I hear what you're saying. Yeah, and this is another weird one, right? Because if they got nothing to play for, then you could argue that Tennessee probably has a little bit more to play for because they want to go out on a high note, and Callahan doesn't want to get fired one and done, right? And so, but still, I'm taking Houston in this game.
Yeah. So what I'm reading is that the Texans are only going to play for a few series just to get back on track, and then they're going to put in the backups there.
And Davis Mills is no slouch either as a backup, so I'm all right with that.
He's no slouch as a backup, and also it depends on which Levis plays versus which.
Mason Rudolph, I think, is playing.
See, I'm hearing non-committal from
all right.
Callahan. He declined to name the starter, but stated they'll both be prepared and both be ready to play.
Yeah, that means he's just like, fuck, they both suck, but I got to pick one.
Yeah. I think either way, with Houston, Houston not really needing it, they're going to pull their starters early. They'll get them a couple good series, or they'll get them to have one good series, maybe score a touchdown, and whenever they get that, that's it for them.
Yeah.
Tennessee, like you said, they want to go out on a high note. Either way, no matter who you picked, if you picked Houston, I would be on Tennessee on this game. I'm sorry, not because you picked Houston. I wouldn't pick Houston in this game because I think that Houston is just kind of coasting in the playoffs, get their starters back on track, and then sit them. And that's why I think Tennessee actually could win this game.
I got you. I hear you. Anything can happen, man. Week 18. And, I'm hoping I win some shit because I want to keep that 70+% win rate. And, it's such a dicey week with the way these teams are going to be, who's fighting for what, that it might drop me down. And that's okay. It is what it is. It's been a great season either way.
Okay. Before we go to question of the week, I just saw something that is fucking crazy.
What is that?
After this past week's games, if every one-score game was flipped and the team that lost by one score actually won, the Broncos would be 14-2, Bengals 12-4, Bills 10-6, Jaguars 10-6, Ravens 11-5, Chargers 10-6, Jets 8-8, and that would be the playoffs for the going into the final week for the AFC. For the NFC, the Buccaneers would be 12-4, Packers would be 10-6, 49ers 10-6, Giants 9-7, Cardinals 9-7, Bears 9-7, Lions 9-7, and that would be the order of the going into the playoffs, or for going into week
Yeah.
18.
Jeez.
Ironically, when you look at it, the teams that didn't make the playoffs, the Browns still would be 4-12, the Chiefs would be 4-12. Panthers would still be 4-12. Cowboys 6-10. The Vikings would be 6-10.
Yeah, that's
Falcons
closer
seven
to
and eight.
what I was probably predicting for them to begin with.
Yeah, and like the Patriots would be 7-9. Texans 7-9. It's just so it'd be the Chiefs, the Browns, and the Panthers going into Week 17 fighting for the number one pick.
Jeez. Yeah. Hey, those final possessions, man, they're that crucial.
And just on the outside a little bit would be the Colts and the Raiders at 5-11.
Okay.
So those are kind of like basically what their records are now.
Yeah. Fun little stats. All right. Well, hey, if you're ready for question of the week, man, I'll shoot it to you.
I'm ready.
All right. So, talking about the Detroit Lions for a second, with seemingly nothing to play for this past week against the 49ers, they ran with all their starters. Tons of people are criticizing Dan Campbell. Obviously, the team's banged up, has a ton of injuries already. They risked having more injuries in what a lot of people are calling a meaningless game. Luckily, they got out of there pretty clean. Uh, but they could have potentially taken the week to rest and maybe heal up before next week's or this week's game against the Vikings, which is pretty critical for that number one seed. Conversely, we were talking about the Eagles and Saquon Barkley earlier, with him being within striking distance of Eric Dickerson's rushing record, and they've decided to bench him as to not risk him getting injured before the playoffs. It's, do you think the Eagles got it right and the Lions got it wrong, or vice versa, or something else? That's the question of the week. And there's a lot of different ways to look at it. I think we've kind of talked about a lot of them, intermittently throughout the show as we've been talking about all these different scenarios. And so the thing is, for me, it's like at this stage of the game, I don't really ever want to question anything that Dan Campbell is doing, right? Because it's been working. And so, you know, I'm just going to say that I think probably both are right, but for different reasons. Dan Campbell, he wants the Lions to take every snap seriously and look at every snap as an opportunity to get better and focus and be more disciplined. And he doesn't ever want to take their foot off the gas. And he's got players that are on board with that and want it that way. And so while the injuries are a risk, I think it's hard to shift gears sometimes. And we've talked about it in the past where you've seen some of these teams bench those guys in week 18 or the last week of the season. And then they go in kind of cold or rusty when the playoffs do come around. And, hypothetically, this next week with the Vikings here is sort of like, playoff pressure kind of implications a little bit. And so, it's tough, but then I do look at the defense for the Lions, and I say, geez, man, there's so many new pieces there because of the injuries that those guys really got to have like all the snaps they can get because they need that practice. But looking at the Eagles, I think Sirianni starting the year was on the hot seat. He doesn't want to fucking play with fire. He wants to keep his guys healthy, give them what he thinks the best shot is of winning in the playoffs. And I think he did it the smart way. He talked to, Eagles front office personnel, ownership. He talked to the players. He talked to Saquon. Everybody was in agreement with his strategy, which I think is a safer, more prudent strategy. And so I think that he did what was right for the Eagles. And I do believe that what Dan Campbell is doing right for the Lions, it's just for very different reasons. And so, what is your opinion, my man?
All right. First of all, with Dan Campbell and the Lions, everybody was questioning Dan Campbell on is he telling the truth. Going into the game, he said, we're going in this game full throttle. And everyone's like, oh, they're just going to play out there for a couple series, and then he's going to. No. The mentality in Detroit is literally next man up, next team, one game at a time, beat who you have in front of you, worry about next week.
Yeah, bite their fucking kneecaps off.
Exactly. Did they make a mistake by playing everybody? Fuck no. Would I say the same thing if people got injured? I don't know. But
yeah, we would be like, oh fuck.
Yeah. I think with the Lions, like, what were they playing for? Revenge from last fucking year.
Yeah, and a lot of people didn't really talk about that going into the game. I think that a few weeks ago we kind of knew that, right? But it all got lost in the shuffle when people started questioning, well, it doesn't change their playoff outcome. Everything's going to come down to week 18 anyhow. So why would they risk it? But yeah, that's an important thing. There is some pride there that they wanted to get back at the 49ers.
Yeah, it's like that's why they ran the score up against the Cowboys last year. Like, fuck. Like,
Yeah.
They got robbed of the game last year.
Yeah.
Maybe Campbell got too aggressive. It still worries me because he changed himself a little bit in the game and didn't go for two when he should have.
Okay.
But do I think they made a mistake playing them? No. If people got hurt, maybe, but I think you're right on the defensive side of the ball. You need to get that chemistry with all the people that have been rotated in. You have to get that chemistry where you're comfortable in the guy next to you and know where he's going to be, and that only comes from game time. It doesn't come from practice. It comes from actual game. Saquon. I think Saquon said everything right after the game. It's whatever coach decides. Would I like to break the record? Yeah. But I'd rather play in the Super Bowl. I said everything right. I think that they should play him. I think in the first quarter, first half, he could get 101 yards against the Giants.
Yeah, just blow them out.
Just blow him out. 3 runs, fuck. He could have two 50-yard runs against the Giants and then be done. Give him the shot. If it's not going that way, if he's not getting yardage middle first quarter, then sit him. Yeah, there's an injury risk there, but also
when's this opportunity going to come around again?
When is this opportunity going to come around again? I'll go back to everybody killing the and I know this is college, and it was like the Pop-Tart Bowl. And I'm not kidding you. It really was the Pop-Tart Bowl.
I love me some Pop-Tarts. Strawberry, by the way.
Well, strawberry Pop-Tart. I'm not going to go there. Just look up strawberry pop. Look, Google strawberry Pop-Tart edible trophy, and you'll understand. So the Pop-Tarts Bowl, everyone was killing Cam Ward.
Okay.
Because he played in the first half to get the record, and then quote he opted out. He opted out of the second half.
Okay.
Did he opt out of the second half? Did they send him? Are you seeing what I'm talking about the edible trophy for the Pop-Tart?
No, I'm trying to. I just see a giant Pop-Tart guy, and then I see like a a Super Bowl trophy with two Pop-Tarts sticking out. Is that what you're talking about?
No.
Or is there like an actual trophy made out of Pop-Tart?
So the mascot
Yeah.
goes into the toaster and comes out as a giant Pop Tart.
Oh, jeez. No, I'm not seeing that, but maybe I got to watch a video or something.
All right, here you go. Let me see if this is real. It's fucking. I think it's cool as hell. But last year, it was the strawberry Pop Tart that did it,
Okay.
and so he went into the toaster. No, went in the toaster. He lives was what they said because he came back. He was resurrected, but he was resurrected fucking with like how he looked after the trophy after the celebration last year. Anyways, so it's a guy in a giant Pop Tart costume. They then go into this giant toaster,
Okay.
and because the Pop Tart costume is apparently edible.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
it's apparently a giant giant Pop Tart, and then the players and coaches get to eat the Pop Tart after the game,
Oh my
and like the
gosh.
strawberry Pop Tart was like all mangled, and he came back like he was with like he was after the trophy. Let me see, was it? Is this person? I think it was Nicole Auerbach that posted. But anyways, so people were killing Cam Ward for opting out. You know, you have the chance opting out halftime, like either opt out the whole game or play the whole game. No, you have a chance to set a record. Give them that shot to set a record. Give them a series, two series, see how things are going, and then um make the decision. But give them that chance at it.
Yeah, I got you.
But I just think differently between the two.
No, I mean, I think there's no wrong answer, man. So it's fine. That's why I wanted to ask it.
All right, so I'm gonna send you one
Pop Tart
picture
guy. Yeah.
of how it comes out of this giant toaster,
Okay.
but there's a whole video with it.
Okay. All right.
But that's what my thoughts are on it.
Well, I appreciate that. And yeah, that's our question of the week. So I guess anybody who is watching, here, let me see. Okay. So that's a real Pop Tart?
Yeah, that's a real Pop Tart.
Wow. Thing's massive, man. It doesn't look like it's real food though.
It is.
Huh. And that thing's that it slides out of is the toaster.
Yeah.
Man, I would eat the shit out of that. I love strawberry Pop Tarts. They're my favorite. All right. So that is all I got to say about. Oh, is this the video you just sent me?
I think
Oh,
it's
is they're eating it?
yeah.
Yeah, just grabbing pieces off of it, just chunks. Heck yeah. Oh man, that strawberry filling, it's legit. Oh, that's awesome.
And here's how the strawberry Pop Tart now looked for the bowl game. Ignore the second part of the picture, but
Sure. Oh yeah, that what the second part is doing there, I don't know. Okay. So the suit that the guy is wearing is a real Pop Tart?
I guess
Just seems like it would fall apart. All right. So yeah, but is this like a chocolate one that they're doing this year?
I didn't.
It must be.
hmm.
It's all good. It's all
Maybe
good.
that's maybe the suit isn't a giant pop tart. They call it a edible whatever, but
Okay. Hey, that's cool. Pop Tart getting in on the action, man. Good for them. Okay, so for anybody who is still watching, we hope you like the show. We hope that you subscribe if you haven't already. And we hope that you give us a like or a thumbs up. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell anybody, and just get us to like double digit views again. That's really like all we want in life. I mean, I'd love like, follow your dreams. Nice. Ugh. I would love a lot of views that we're not getting, but you know, such is life. We're back to that again.
yeah. What can you do?
It's that damn fucking algorithm or AI, whatever, going against us. Either way, thankful for what we got. And the time together, that's what's precious, James.
100%.
All right, well, hey, unless you got any closing thoughts, I'll shut it down.
No, I think that's all I had.
All right, bud. It was fun, man. I will catch you later.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut hut hike.